I think you're gonna like me.
These videos are not for children. If you're a children, then piss off.
Hey there, it's me, your least favorite YouTuber, Infuso. And I've talked pretty recently about this show before. And the video I made before was pretty thorough and transparent. The video was titled, How I Met Your Father Sucks, where I appropriately talked about the show How I Met Your Father, and why it sucked. See what I mean? Transparency. And now that I've gotten past the first 2 episodes and watched the next 3 that were uploaded to Hulu, I'm gonna be real with y'all, it's actually starting to grow on me.
Move this man!
Now listen, I don't think the show has quite found its own identity just yet, but these 3 episodes showed me that they're not just making steps, but they're making giant leaps in the right direction. And I found these latest entries into the series to be far more competent than the previous ones. I'm not going back on what I said. The first impression of the show sucked. But then I think back to all the times that I've made a bad first impression, and some of those people that I've made that impression on are still my friends today.
I really don't like you.
Yeah, I got that vibe.
First impressions are hard, and they're even tougher in forms of entertainment. Perfect example, I love the American remake of The Office, and I love Parks and Rec. But I skipped the first season of both of those shows almost every time I run through the series. The shows hadn't yet figured out what they were. I think when it comes to TV series, you'll find the phrase first is the worst come up a lot. Not always, but much more than you think. And I think the reason for this is that this is their experimental dip your toe season. They're trying to figure out if the water's warm enough to jump in and where the sweet spot would be for them to dive in. And that's smart to do because usually your initial vision doesn't end up being the final product. If you don't believe me, Google what Friends was originally supposed to be. Or take a look at the show Good Morning Miss Bliss, a terribly mediocre show that would be retooled into Saved by the Bell. So with all this praise I'm about to shower on the series that I once buried, let me first go over what I still find valid. This group of people assorting the way they did? Absolute insanity. Forced doesn't even begin to explain it. Their giant meat cute? Wasn't so cute to me. I just don't like how these Avengers assembled. However, there is a better group dynamic that's starting to form here. I don't really think that they gelled at first, but there is some chemistry between these actors, and I understand now how each and every one of them got their roles. They do work well together, just the way that they were put together doesn't work well in reality. I'm actually really starting to enjoy their goofy interactions. And I could see that these characters are starting to grow outside of their stereotypical blueprints. They were ideas for characters, now they're becoming characters. Valentina and Charlie's relationship is ridiculous in nature, but I think we all know a couple like this. You know, the ones that are together one week, and then they're not together the next week, but then they're together the following week. Rinse, wash, repeat for the next 3 to 5 years, and you have a bunch of people I grew up with. Come on, don't act like you don't know people like this. The couples who have been together for years but still have "it's complicated" as their relationship status on Facebook. The couples who have an open relationship but are just a little bit jealous and resentful that they're not the center of their partner's universe. Hey, I ain't judging. I'm just saying they do exist. This pairing, despite being disasterific in nature, aren't shown to be abusive or entirely toxic. They're very chaotic neutral to me, and I think that makes it fun to watch. Valentina's immaturity and fear of getting old and boring spices up their relationship, but in a way it also kind of puts a strain on it. Because Charlie, though enjoying the many benefits of dating somebody like that, also wants something a little bit more conventional. What I find really interesting about this relationship is that what makes things fun and new might get old real fast. I mean, yes, I get that they had that one moment in the bathroom, but who knows how long that'll actually last. Valentina is beyond impulsive, so she herself probably can't even properly predict how she feels from one minute to the next. Who knows what the future holds? Ellen and Jesse have a really interesting connection, or lack thereof. The two are siblings by adoption, but they live 2 entirely different lives, being split up when they were very young after their parents divorced. Because of this, they find that they know next to nothing about each other, but they love each other nonetheless, because they're family. It's all about family. So watching them reunite and reconnect is kind of cute, and I hope we see more of this arc in the future. Seeing these two interact endears audiences to both characters, while also rebuilding a familial bond between them. I think this relationship, as well as Jesse and Sophie's bonding, are the most interesting parts of the Jesse character. I feel like what the character lacks on his own, he makes up for as a +1 to other characters. Watching Hilary Duff and Josh Peck go out on a date together as full-grown adults, slowly approaching their 40s, is pretty surreal to me. I grew up watching Josh as a kid on shows like The Amanda Show and Drake and Josh, and while I didn't watch Lizzie McGuire, I was, aware of it. I knew it was a thing, but I did like Cheaper by the Dozen and Casper Meets Wendy if it's any consolation here. My point is, I grew up with them. So seeing them together grown up just reminds me that they're old, and now so am I. No, I'm fine. Ellen is quickly becoming my favorite character of the bunch. As a matter of fact, she sort of reminds me of a character I created when I was making my own series. It sucked, by the way. In case you're wondering, it sucked. We'll get into that in a different video. That character was also a lesbian, had a fondness for similar hats, and was also ridiculously awkward to a comedic degree. I only bring this up to say that this is a good representation of a person that does exist in the world. Because when I was making that character, I was basing it off of one of my friends, who was that character to a T. Ellen overall is well performed by her actress. But side note, you guys really named your one lesbian character Ellen? That's like if I was making a show, and I named the one middle-aged white woman who gets in a fight with managers everywhere Karen. And she has a son who's a brolic ladies man named Chad. And he's got a hot girlfriend named Stacy. He also has a best friend who follows him around place to place and is nearly obsessed with him. His name is Stan. Anyway, my point is, Ellen is probably my favorite character. My least favorite character? The British dude. Because his whole shtick is just, I'm British. I don't know, I just think that's kind of lame. I mean, he's gotten better like everything else about the show as the episodes go on. But still, can we just give him any other notable trait other than not being from here? I'm not trying to win any PC brownie points. I'm just saying it's a really tired joke, and I'm really tired of hearing it. He's not good. His kind of sort of almost actual girlfriend is a shoo-in for my second favorite character. Though I think the series has greatly tuned her down since the first 2 episodes. I'm not entirely sure as of right now if that's a good or a bad thing, but it's definitely a thing. I mean, the character does still seem like the character from the previous episodes. It's just now she's a little bit more subdued and a little bit less loud. But yeah, Valentina is a close second. Again, this might be a personal or biased thing, because like with Ellen, I know people just like this character. She's highly entertaining, and I think that she's kind of being positioned to be the Barney of the group, just minus the excessive sleaziness. Well, minus the excessive part. Sid and Jesse, I think, are a little bit underdeveloped. Like, the roles are well acted, and they do come off as likable, but outside of minor character traits, we still don't really know all that much about them. Sid is honest and loyal, and he's made his relationship the center of his life, while Jesse is nice, but prone to outbursts, and also has trouble dating. I like these characters, but they're not yet distinct in their own, at least not at this point in time. They're blank canvases that I really hope we see painted in the next couple episodes. Sorry if my metaphors sound pretentious, I'm just trying to get my point across. Out of the group, Hilary Duff's Sophie is probably the most likable. And yeah, sure, you could say that she's just female Ted Mosby by design, but the character always comes off as sincere, and in a lot of ways, I think she may be a better leading protagonist than Ted. Though to be fair, time could very easily change that. They could very easily accidentally dip into creepy territory. There's a fine line, and it is very easy to accidentally cross it. But so far, so good. She comes off as a hopeful, hopeless romantic. And you kind of want to root for her and see her get her happily ever after. Not sexually, just so we're clear. Now, don't get me wrong. Despite all these wonderful things I've said, the show does still have its faults. There are some things on the show that just don't really add up. At least not to me. Sophie turns Jesse down not for a lack of interest, but because she's not ready to date at that moment. And then a mere 2 episodes later, she's ready to give this whole dating thing a try again with his boss. Shoehorning Josh Peck into the plot, and then retconning that Sophie actually did meet his character in the first episode, all in an effort so you can add another potential father into the mix, just seems so, well, shoehorned. I guess I already said that. Look, don't get me wrong, I'm happy he's here. But this is yet another case of the show giving a shitty introduction. It's like I hate how these characters get to where they're at, but I'm enjoying when they're at where they're at. And the only other thing that really bugs me is that outside of the main cast, people on the show don't act believable in the slightest. Like, they don't speak or react like any real human being would. It's like all the effort in the dialogue went solely to the people who show up in the intro, and everyone else is left to verbally fend for themselves. I think the tone of this series matches the originals, but it manages to do something original with it. So in a lot of ways, this feels like a much more modernized take on that series, without trying to overshadow it or reboot it. This show is really starting to feel like a spiritual successor to that show. I know I emphasized before that the show sucked, and it did. Those first 2 episodes were not barn burners. But I'll tell you what, these following episodes, I think they'll put some butts in seats. I was able to watch and then rewatch these episodes, and I didn't roll my eyes or sigh comedically loud once. Which is saying something, because I am sarcastic by nature. I don't need an audience. It's just natural for me. I actually really enjoyed myself. I think now the show has leaned in more to the DNA of its namesake. If they keep this up, I truly believe that they could very well have successfully made the How I Met Your Mother of this generation. So let's all hope that they've learned from their parents' mistakes, and they don't make the same ones. I mean, could you imagine if the follow-up show also had a horrifically awful ending? Like, they screwed it up twice, the ending of the series? I mean, that's crazy, though. How could that possibly... Oh, yeah. Anyway, with all that being said, I was your least favorite YouTuber, Infuso, and I thank you for watching. Hope to see you in the next one.
I am vengeance. I am the night, and that was Infuso. Just remember, if you're not tuning in, then you're missing out.
So, if you like the words that came out of his mouth hole, and you too would like to become a V-generate, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, nerds!
And if you're not joining the fun, you're in for one bad day. And you know what they say about having one bad day?
Catch him next time. Same bat time. Same bat channel.